Good afternoon and welcome to Murder Mysteries. I'm your host, James Berry. On today's episode, we will review the bizarre and twisting case of the Morris family. Wilson, North Carolina, a quiet and peaceful town nestled in the heart of Wilson County, home to the Barton College campus. A very neighborly town where everyone is well acquainted. But on September 24th, 2011, this peaceful and quiet town became the scene of one of the most horrible of nightmares. It was at this residence 5 years ago, at the Morris household, located in rural Wilson County, that one of the most bizarre murders we have ever seen took place. Bill and Monica Morris have lived in Wilson all of their lives. They both attended Hunt High School, where the two of them fell in love and soon wedded. Bill, an upstanding citizen and well-known lawyer for 20 years. Monica, a stay-at-home mother involved with many of the local community service projects. Bill and Monica Morris have lived at this house with their two daughters, the older Caitlin and the younger Kylie, for the better part of 17 years. It was a normal Saturday morning on a cool fall day. Caitlin and Kylie Morris woke up around 10 o'clock in the morning and headed downstairs to eat breakfast. They walk into the kitchen, expecting their mother to be already making breakfast, as was the usual routine. What they found, however, was their own mother lying in a pool of her own blood, and their father lying dead next to her.
I woke up a little later than usual that morning. Usually I'm up pretty early, but I guess since I had a long day at school and I was cheerleading the whole football game that night, I was just really tired. When I woke up, Caitlin was already up. She told me good morning with a big smile on her face. We suspected nothing. It was just like any other day, but when we walked in, we saw Mom and Dad on the floor. We were in complete shock.
Police officers arrived moments later after the sisters called 911 with Detective Frazier, a 17-year Wilson PD veteran, heading up the investigation. When officers arrived, they found two sisters, a hysterical Kylie and what seemed to be a shocked Caitlin.
Well, when I first arrived on the scene, the younger sister, Kylie Morris, was almost uncontrollable and completely hysterical. Her older sister, Caitlin Morris, she just stood there in shock and didn't say a word. But you could understand the way both sisters felt. I mean, there was blood everywhere. Blood was everywhere.
Police quickly taped off the house, holding back curious neighbors and annoying reporters. Detective Frazier made a quick analysis of the crime scene as the CSIs began their work.
The first thing I noticed was the front door. It looked like it had been kicked open, meaning someone from the outside was trying to break in. I immediately ruled out robbery because nothing was really out of place or missing. Also, if someone had kicked in the door, would the girls have awakened? Would the neighbors have heard it? This means that the parents probably could have known the murderers. No murder weapon was found at the scene. All these things were running through my mind by the time I left the crime scene.
Police took both Kylie and Caitlin down to the station, while the bodies of Kylie and Caitlin's parents were transported to the local morgue for autopsy. At the police station, detectives began to question the sisters separately.
Well, we first started with Caitlin, and she was still in shock over the entire incident. She barely said anything besides, "I can't believe what just happened." And so we decided to leave her alone for a while and call in a psychologist to try to talk to her about the incident, but still to no avail.
After questioning Caitlin without results, Detective Frazier decided to bring in Kylie for interviewing without expecting any help, remembering how hysterical Kylie was earlier. Kylie, however, did just the opposite. She became of more help than Detective Frazier had anticipated.
After I arrived at the station, I was able to calm down a bit. They started asking me questions like, did your parents have any enemies, or what were they doing last night, and where were I and my sister at last night? I answered, trying to remember everything that I could.
Bill and Monica had no enemies at all, according to Kylie. They were upstanding citizens and well involved in their community.
Kylie arrived late last night after hanging with some friends after the football game.
Where in the world have you been?
Parents were in the living room watching television, as was custom on late Friday nights.
Your mother
After
is
being scolded a little
sick
bit for
about
arriving home around midnight, Kylie went upstairs to go to bed.
Kylie, you know we didn't want you
She
out
shares
this
the same
late.
room as her sister, and Caitlin was already in bed, according to Kylie. Detectives asked Kylie why Caitlin wasn't out with her. Kylie responded that Caitlin is socially awkward and an introvert, and she had refused to go out with her that night.
The interview with Kylie went pretty well, but we still didn't have a lot to go on until the autopsies of the bodies came back. After the interviews were completed, we let the sisters go back to the neighborhood while we questioned the neighbors to see if there were any witnesses of the crime.
All of the answers seemed the same, however. Nothing peculiar was going on that night. It seemed just like any other normal night.
Everyone knew the Morrises. They were your typical picture-perfect suburban family, and something was just not sitting right with me. Why murder the parents and not the daughters? And I felt like someone knew their routine. They were killed downstairs in the kitchen, and so I keep going back and forth in my mind about what was happening. And then a day later, we got the autopsy report back, and it changed my entire mindset.
The autopsy revealed some interesting facts. The report showed that both parents were killed around 1 a.m. The father was killed from behind, being stabbed 3 times. The mother was stabbed numerous times in the stomach. The murder weapon was a sharp blade of some kind, like a steak knife. The angle of the wounds revealed that the killer is approximately 5'7". The depth of the wounds shows that the killer was, in fact, a female. The final, most interesting piece of information: the murderer was left-handed.
Well, the autopsy reports revealed a lot to me. The reports revealed that the parents were killed roughly around 1 a.m. The murderer had to be pretty weak because the father was killed from behind and the mother was stabbed numerous times in the stomach. The father was killed from behind, so I felt like there was no way that a murderer broke into the house, because both of the parents probably would have heard someone trying to break in, and the father would not have been killed from behind. So the entire time I'm thinking, maybe this entire door being kicked in was staged, and it was possible that both sisters or a sister had murdered them.
Detective Frazier knew he had a big and controversial accusation. He had to be both smart and deliberate.
I ordered background checks on both sisters. I wanted medical records and everything we could find on them. I needed something other than just my assumptions. So I went back to the scene of the crime and searched the sisters' room more thoroughly than we did during the time of the crime. I was searching phone records, laptops, and I also had both sisters go back to the station, separated, and we asked them more questions and had both of them write statements explaining what happened that day.
Detective Frazier noticed something peculiar as statements were written out. Caitlin was left-handed, but Kylie, she was right-handed.
Detective Frazier came in after separating Caitlin and I, and started asking me like really weird questions like how much I loved my parents and how devastated I was when I discovered the bodies. He then said I needed to write down what I was saying. I asked why I couldn't be with my sister, but the detective just said it was protocol. After I grabbed a pencil and started writing, I noticed the expression on the detective's face changing. Then he walked out suddenly.
Caitlin was left-handed. I almost had everything that I needed except for a motive. I mean, why kill your parents? But then I received the medical records. There was nothing on Caitlin, not a birth certificate or anything. It was like Caitlin didn't even exist. As I thought more about the case, more pieces started to come together, and Kylie and her parents were extroverts. Caitlin was an introvert. Kylie and her parents were all right-handed. Caitlin was left-handed. Finally, the fact came that Caitlin doesn't even look like her sister or her parents.
Detective Frazier found more evidence after he received the phone records and the internet histories from the sisters' phone company. What he found was truly astounding.
Then the police allowed Caitlin and I to be together in the same room, but said we had to stay there for a while. My sister seemed really anxious, so I asked an officer why we were here. The officer told us that Detective Frazier and other officers were at our house right now searching for more evidence. At this point, Caitlin started to shake like really bad.
Detective Frazier found email correspondence between Caitlin and a second party, someone named Charles Donovan. Caitlin called this man her father in those emails, and Donovan wrote as if Caitlin was his actual daughter. He was also calling her by the name Emily. In the last email between them, Caitlin wrote, "I'm about to take matters into my own hands. The police just won't do enough. I need to rid the world of those two monstrous thieves once and for all." Donovan responded, not to do anything stupid and rash, but the email he sent had a status showing that it was never read.
Now we had a new trail to follow. I made it an absolute priority to find Charles Donovan. We needed to know what the relationship was between Donovan and Caitlin, although I kind of already had an idea. After searching further into the records, we found Donovan at his home in Greer, South Carolina. We questioned him, and he cooperated fully and told us everything we needed to know.
First thing I did was tell the truth. Caitlin Morris is my daughter. Her real name is Emily Donovan. About 2 months after she was born, my wife and I hired a babysitter named Melissa Murray for one night because we had to go to a business dinner. My wife didn't want to go, but I told her she should go, so we hired Melissa Murray. We came back that night, and our baby was gone. Police searched all night, but there was no sign of our baby or Melissa. After 24 hours, we filed a missing persons report and put up posters all over the city.
Melissa had no family, according to Mr. Donovan, and she lived alone. Police searched the address where Melissa had told the Donovans she lived, but she was long gone. There was nothing left there at the address. The apartment was completely empty.
And then a year went by and nothing. It was like they disappeared off the face of the earth. My wife and I were distraught. My wife got severely depressed. And we lost our baby girl.
I looked into the report 11 years ago. By that time, it was considered a cold case. Police couldn't do much more. I mean, they looked for years. This Melissa girl was almost a ghost. After extensive research and the information that we received from South Carolina Police Department, I decided to see if we could find Melissa, and we did. We found her by having background checks done on the Morris family. I found out that Melissa was Monica Morris's sister. She changed her name from Nicole Brady to Melissa Maury and changed her hair color. We brought Charles Donovan back in with us in North Carolina, and we showed him Nicole, and he recognized her immediately and ID'd her as Melissa. We arrested her and interviewed her, and she told us everything. We found the medical records on Nicole, and that showed that she had a mental disorder.
Nicole Brady, also known as Melissa Murray, moved to South Carolina after college, but she remained really close with her sister Monica. Monica and her new husband Bill Morris tried hard to have kids, but the doctor said their chances were slim.
When Monica told Nicole the news, Nicole was very grieved. The police psychologist said that Nicole's mental state was good enough for her to be out on her own and to take care of herself. But when Monica told Nicole the sad news, Nicole thought she would help by giving Monica and Bill a new child. And so, Nicole advertised herself as a babysitter, stole little Emily, and went back home to North Carolina. You would think that once Monica saw this, she would have returned the child. But Monica kept Emily because she believed her and Bill would never have one of their own. Monica dyed her sister's hair color again and changed her name from Melissa Murray to Sarah Jenkins, keeping her sister close to home so the police couldn't find her.
I couldn't believe what I found out. I mean, all of it seemed crazy to me, like a movie. I still need to find the murder weapon. I need to know how Donovan found his daughter so that he could even email her.
The police may have given up on searching for my daughter, but I didn't. And I also felt extremely responsible and guilty since I was the one that hired Melissa. She seemed perfectly normal, but I should have done a better job and a more in-depth background check. I saw it as my fault. And it took a while, it took years actually, but finally I found what seemed like the only person who knew anything at all about Melissa. One of her former neighbors. Police never interviewed her because she was studying abroad at the time and wasn't there, but when she came back, she moved to another place. Also, she wasn't much help. She didn't know anything about Melissa, only the fact that she was from a small town called Wilson, North Carolina. It wasn't much. It was a long shot, but I decided to go there just in case.
Donovan took an extended leave from work, kissed his wife goodbye, and headed to Wilson where he would spend a couple of months. During his stay, he searched everywhere. It was hard for him since his daughter was taken some 17 years ago. He contacted the local police, but a huge crime spree just hit the town of Wilson. A truckload of gold was found just outside town, so their attention was focused elsewhere. Detective Frazier never came in contact with Donovan at the time due to the crime spree that just hit the town.
Finally, out of divine intervention as I see it, I was at a local restaurant when I saw her. She looked just like my wife. She had my eyes. She looked up at me from a distance, and her face, it looked like she knew. She knew I was her father. I walked up to her and introduced myself. I told her that it might sound creepy, but I knew her. I needed to talk to her privately somehow. She said I looked strangely familiar and thought I kind of looked like someone she knew. But she didn't trust me because I was a stranger. I totally understood. I understood her. I really did. So I just gave her my email and I left, praying to God she would contact me.
After a few days, Emily contacted Donovan, and Donovan told her everything. Emily noted to Donovan how different she looked and acted from her own family, and always had the thought in the back of her mind that she could have been adopted. To make short, both Donovan and Caitlin secretly decided to go to a hospital and get their DNA tested. The results, in fact, proved that Charles Donovan was her father.
But then something inside of Emily just snapped as we read the results. She became angry, extremely angry. I urged Emily that we should go to the police, but she said no. She said her parents were so well liked in the area that no one was going to believe it. I decided that I needed to contact my wife and tell her, but Emily urged me to leave and said she would contact me to discuss what to do from here. But when I got home, Emily sent me some disturbing emails. She was about to do something bad. I tried to stop her, but she never read my last email. And now here we are.
All that was left to wrap up this nightmare of a case was to find the murder weapon, or hopefully fingerprints. So we decided to go to Kylie and ask her if she knew of any place that maybe Caitlin would hide secret stuff. We didn't want to tip off Caitlin because we knew she may lawyer up and make things difficult on us.
We waited for what seemed like forever in that police station. When the detective finally came back, he assured us that everything was fine, but he just needed to ask me, and only me, one simple question in private. He asked if there was any place where Caitlin would hide stuff, like a safe place or a secret place. I wondered why he needed to know, but he insisted that I answer.
She told me that there was this place at Lake Wilson where Caitlin would go whenever she felt stressed or scared or sad. There was a certain tree where she would sit and just look at the water and sky. She also told me that she kept a journal there. She said that Caitlin kept it there because she feared that her parents would find it and read it if she kept it at the house. She told me that she put a lot of personal things in it.
I took Kylie to Lake Wilson and we went to the tree in question. I found a little shovel behind a bush and a place in the ground just below the tree that looked like it had been tampered with. I dug there and I found the journal and a steak knife with what looked like dried up blood on it. After looking briefly through the journal, the date of September 24th contained a receipt for a purchase of the knife and a full confession of Caitlin's intentions.
Detective Frazier bagged the diary, the receipt, and the knife while waiting for the Wilson police to show up on the scene. Detective Frazier sent the evidence to the lab for further forensic analysis. The lab immediately tested the knife for blood and prints. The dry blood on the blade came back as a positive match to both Bill and Monica Morris. The partial print lifted off the knife handle, a positive match to Caitlin Morris. Detective Frazier arrested and charged Caitlin for the murder of Bill and Monica Morris. Upon hearing the news, Kylie was in complete shock. She could not believe that her older sister could do something like that.
I sat Kylie down and tried to explain everything the best way I could. I felt terrible for her. She had lost both her parents and now her sister was arrested for murder. I tried to calm her down and asked if I could contact her grandparents to come get her, but she refused. She kept saying there's no way her sister could have done this, especially since they stayed in the same room.
This actually got me thinking. I remember that Kylie said she had woke up later than usual and that she had a glass of water that night.
The lab technician informed me that they had just tested the glass from the sister's bedroom and that it came back positive for traces of Ambien, a sleeping drug.
I remember finding a bottle of Ambien in the bathroom medicine cabinet. I remember looking at the name on the bottle. It had Monica Morris, and the prescription had been issued for September the 1st, 2011, which meant on the morning of the 24th that there would have been 7 pills in the bottle. However, there were only 6 pills left in the bottle. At the time, I shrugged it off because I figured that maybe Miss Morris had previously taken one too many by accident.
That was the worst time of my life. My parents were gone and now my sister. I'm doing better now, but I can still hardly believe it. My parents kept a kidnapped child, and I felt bad for the Donovans. I keep in contact with them, and we all take trips to visit Emily. Even saying Emily baffles my mind.
Police thought they were just handling a double homicide, but they ended up uncovering a 15-year-long kidnapping case. And so what seemed like a lengthy and very strange murder investigation turned into the closing of 2 criminal cases. I'm James Barry. Thanks for watching Murder Mysteries.